This is legitimately one of the best finds I've ever made. These articulating arms can be easily moved and angled to make this work for an insane amount of movements. It's compact, very versatile, and a really good value. To be honest, this EonFit E1 cable tower surprised me a bit. When I bought it, I was kind of expecting another Amazon adventure, like when we built a home gym using their highest rated items. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some of that here. We're gonna have some fun with this one, but it's really not bad. If you're looking for a budget-friendly, space-saving piece, this tower can do quite a bit, and that's all because of these arms. These things are a game changer for small spaces, and I'm excited to see these on more equipment and to watch them evolve in the coming years. I'm not gonna say it's perfect. There's a lot of things that I'd like tweaked that I'll point out, but I expected a dumpster fire, and I kind of like this. I wasn't sent it for free. I just found it on Amazon and thought it couldn't possibly be the dumbest thing I've spent money on, so I bought it, which is a luxury we can afford because of our Patreons, who already know this video is coming since they've seen the behind the scenes sneak peek hosted by Winnie, and they're also the entire reason this video exists. Let's make some comparisons and break down exactly what the EonFit E1 tower is, its features and specs, because, well, as is often the case on Amazon or other online marketplaces, the listing is wildly inaccurate. Or in this case, the 52 listings showing off everything from power racks using these arms to what looks like a really low budget version of Bulletproof Fitness's isolator, which I wish I had noticed earlier because you can do curls with it. And as we all know, that is the true measure of gym equipment's value. To me, the appeal of this machine is as a compact tower. So we'll focus on just those 7 listings. First, let's set our expectations. This is a budget item. We're not going to get heavy duty 11 gauge 2x2 steel tubing and massive weight capacities, right? Because as our viewers know, I trust no one and check everything a company claims. And this is kind of all over the place. The tower is 14 gauge. That's the uprights, crossmember, and base. The arms are pretty beefy and are actually 11 gauge, so they're not entirely wrong, but the trolley mount is 12 gauge. It's like someone asked, what gauge steel should we use? And they replied, yes. In fairness, it's a lot to keep track of. Okay, no, it's not. It just sounds a lot better to say 11 gauge, doesn't it? That's what those big 3x3 power racks are built from, so I'm not so sure it's a typo. Believe me, there's a big difference between 11 and 14 gauge. With 14, if you tip it over, because you're an idiot who forgot to anchor it with plates, you'll still be alive afterwards. The weight capacity is 330 pounds, by the way. At least I think it is based on me trying to find any consistency between the 7 listings. Also, it's not 2-inch by 2-inch tubing, it's 2.3 inches, which is important because it means at least one of us can measure, and it makes this somewhat compatible with Bells of Steel's cable tower, as they're using almost identical specs. Bells uses 60 millimeter or 2.3 inch square tubing with 5/8 holes and 2-inch hole spacing. EonFit is using the same size tubing with 5/8 holes and 2-inch hole spacing. Kind of. The holes on the front and the back of the upright are using odd 1/2-inch size ovals, which isn't ideal because if they had used equal 4-way hole spacing like Bell's, we'd be able to fully leverage Bell's ecosystem of attachments onto this. You'll still be able to put on their seal row pad, for example, but since the holes on the sides are 5/8 and the front and back are the ovals, you can only mount it sideways, though some of their other attachments will work on this. Does any of that really matter for the price? Maybe not, but I think it's important you understand what you're getting. The E1 is very versatile because of these arms. There's a ton of exercise you can do with this by simply adjusting the trolley up or down and tweaking the angle of the arms. You can do crossovers, flies, chest press, rows, and my favorite exercise, lat. It is pretty easy to adjust. The trolley's a little bit heavy, so you may want to use both hands, and it's not the smoothest thing ever, but my trolley got damaged in shipping, and I haven't even lubricated this front upright, and it's still not that hard to move, and it's pretty simple too, just a couple pop pins to change the height or the angle. The arms are 22 inches long and can rotate 180 degrees and lock into 9 different angles. The arm's height is also adjustable from the floor all the way up to 87 inches, which means it actually works pretty decently as a seated lat pull down, which is an advantage this type of adjustable arm system has over something like Bell's cable tower, where even Winnie at 5'6" tall can't sit on a bench to do high pulls. She has to sit on the floor to get a full range of motion. But with the arms of the E1 being able to extend over the top of the tower, this works for higher ceilings and will also work for people with low ceilings, since this is just under 80 inches tall, making it a great option for small spaces with its small footprint. As we'll see though, there are some odd design choices, like there not being any holes in this top 4 inches or so of the upright. Kind of feels like a waste of space, having this much length with no holes to utilize. Originally, I thought that was because this was maybe made in the same factory as Bell's cable tower and thought maybe they were reusing the same components, but after putting them side by side, I'm not sure that's the case. Don't get me wrong, there's some similarities and compatibility between the two, and with their prices being so close, the comparisons make sense. The E1 tower costs $450 shipped. And to put that in perspective, Bell's plate-loaded cable tower cost $440 shipped if built similarly. There's of course cheaper cable tower options out there that look similar to this. With stuff like this, there's always going to be, but you really have to pay attention to the details and listings. There's City's cable crossover, but the arms are bolted onto it, so you can't move them up or down the upright. GMWD's has to be anchored to a wall, and with no rear upright, it won't be as stable as this. The E1 really seems to be the best budget option with this style of articulating arms. Now, that's not me vouching for Eon Fit. They make a lot of almost extreme budget stuff where companies can cut some serious corners and often have no idea what they're designing for. That's not me saying I don't trust their $1,300 rack and that $350 coupon. I mean, check out this sick Wagant plate holder. This thing has 18 level height choices, and stainless steel uprights at this price is putting Rogue to shame with their price gouging. Or maybe if it sounds too good to be true, it is, and it's probably best to let your favorite online idiot put his life on the line for a few likes and subscribers. So if you want to encourage me to keep spending my money for your entertainment, then check out the links in the description to all the items we talk about today. The E1 has what I tend to call a hybrid dual pulley system. This is the same type of thing you'll find on quite a few pieces we reviewed, like Bells of Steel's cable towers, GetRx RX3 series, Rogue's FM single stack, even Bells of Steel's Kraken, which we'll be reviewing soon, uses something like this. Here's how it works. We have a single weight stack. In this case, it's plate loaded, which is how they keep prices down. When I pull on one handle, I get a 2-to-1 pulley ratio, which gives me twice the cable to work with, but cuts the weight I've loaded onto this in half. That's great for functional trainer type movements where you may need extra cable travel and want a low starting weight. And the E1 has a starting weight of about 8 pounds when using one handle, which is a little bit lower than what you typically find on most home gym cable equipment. So this works pretty well for my wife since she can't lift as much as her super handsome, incredibly strong, and modest husband. Her words, not mine. When you use 2 handles at the same time or link them together, which I've done using an extra carabiner or any of my darker bars, you'll get a 1-to-1 pulley ratio, which means you'll feel the full weight you've loaded onto this but have half the cable travel. Normally, cable travel on a short tower like this with a 1-to-1 pulley ratio can be a problem, but since you can lower and raise the trolleys and use the arms to extend its height, it tends to work pretty well. At 6 foot tall, I am pushing its range at times. I'm not saying you won't find some limitations, but again, it's better than I expected. That being said, it's still a budget option, so you expect to make some sacrifices. We've got a single weight stack being controlled by 2 handles, meaning these handles are linked, so you're not getting a true unilateral experience like you would with dual independent stacks, but the trade-off is you're saving a substantial amount of money. So yeah, we're not talking about a selectorized weight stack, which would make changing weights much quicker and would really anchor this thing down, but it would also crank up the price. It's also not the smoothest pull I've ever felt. Sounds wrong. With Eon Fit, they're using pretty cheap nylon pulleys. You'll feel a little resistance in the cables. It may feel a little bumpy. They do offer a pulley upgrade kit, or you can buy it with the upgraded pulleys already on it. And I'd imagine with those upgraded bearings, it would end up being quite a bit smoother. It's just as you start adding stuff on, you'll move this into a new budget range, which is the same game you're playing with Bell's Tower and their selectorized stack or upgraded pulley kit. I think the Bell's Tower is much better with those options on it, but at what point should you start looking at a beefier, more modular system? Something like GetRx 3x3 tower that we reviewed, for example. I like this at $450. I'm not sure I would for much more without some improvements. There are a lot of good design elements, the adjustable arms being the star of the show. These just open up so many possibilities. Admittedly, it's probably better as a functional trainer than a lat pull down or low row. It will work for those movements, but if you're moving some serious weight, I'd probably look at something a little more robust. It can be used freestanding like we've got, or wall mounted. The E1 works with both standard and Olympic size plates because of the weight horn adapters, and the weight horns are tilted up slightly so that the weights don't fall off while you're using it. That sounds like an obvious touch, but believe me, it's not. The build quality on this is about what you'd expect. You won't be blown away by it, but you won't die while using it either. Sure, I'd prefer a knurled handle, heavier gauge steel, and equal 4-way hole spacing, but this is delivering a lot for the money. What more could you ask for from a budget piece? I mean, I guess maybe better attachments. These are some of the worst I've ever used. You probably won't punch yourself in the face while using them, but what's life without a little adventure? And what can you really expect? I do give them bonus points for throwing in so many of them with the tricep rope, straight bar, 2D handles, lap bar, the foot plates, and the cutest little leg roller you've ever seen. I think you just have to set your expectations properly. This isn't Eon Fit's first version of the E1 though. They've upgraded a few things like making the foot plates removable so they don't get in your way and improving the instructions because they used to be awful. Those types of incremental improvements are great to see because sometimes with this Amazon stuff, companies just put out garbage and then disappear. If your main criteria are versatility, price, and space savings, this is a pretty good piece. It's not perfect, and someone will take this design, refine it, and maybe make it so the arms can tilt forward and back as well, hint, hint, and they'll make a lot of money. But until then, if this looks good to you and meets your wants and needs, then click my link and get one. If you've seen any other interesting equipment you want us to check out, then let us know. And if this one isn't speaking to you, check out our Bell's Cable Tower review here. Thank you so much to our Patreons. This video would not exist without you, and thanks for watching.